Whatever it's trying to do. It says it's gonna start soon. Okay.
Yep. Nice. That's how it's starting. Nice.
Always. It
It's
always.
gonna start
That's
soon.
how
It's gonna
it started.
It's gonna start soon. Yeah. No problem. Oh shit.
How we do it.
Yo. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Welcome to another episode. Episode 3, man. Episode 3.
Episode 3.
Wow. Of the TurnDown podcast. With your boy, you already know, the host with the most, Kendrick Bowser. The brother from another mother, Miles Malone, and the man from another nationality who has the rationality.
Okay. Fix it. No, he landed.
Mr. Tim Edwards. You already know I'm about to land it. You already know, man. And before we do dig in,
the host with the most.
And that's on Jazz.
You know what I'm saying? And before we dig into this music discussion, man, I do want to just give a quick thank you. I know I posted on my Instagram. I know you guys are tired of hearing me talk about it, man, but I got to give a quick thank you to all of the listeners, man. We are getting an absurd amount of love, I think, for this podcast within the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Just more than I expected. Like, this was something that we always say, we wanted to do it just for us and then have it out there. And the fact that we're like 105 views on our first video and almost 60 on the next one and 70 something followers, like, to other people, it might not sound like a lot, but for what we wanted to do, I think this is freaking amazing, dude.
Very cool. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, hey, we've been on the civil rights tip, man, and I am going to begin it because I've been contemplating. I had this question in my mind the whole day for y'all, because I know today we're going to be talking about this music and, where we are with it and how it's impacted us and, just music in general, man, because I think there are a lot of aspects of it. But the one I wanted to ask you, brothers, was, and this is a little deep, do you guys feel like music has in some way, shape, or form saved your lives?
I guess I can start since I'm talking. I would say that it has, because I think for those who don't know, of course I go to school for music. You guys already know that, especially the people that are watching at this point in time. But I got into UMBC as a psychology major. And around that same time, around my freshman year, I'm more comfortable talking about it now because we're a bit removed. But I had actually attempted suicide. Committing suicide during my freshman year. Obviously, I did. Yeah, obviously, I did not complete the task. No. I'm here.
God
y'all.
Bless. In the flesh.
Yes. But that was a really tough time for me because I was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do, everything. It's just kind of like not going well for me in my mental health and everything. And I, just decided, to go to school, to switch from being a psychology major to being a music major. And I think music for me has given me sort of like an out, creating and being able to express my feelings through my instrument. This thing, I always have it on me. Even most of the times that we've been recording these videos, I've always had, my bass, even though you can't always see it. Just at here kind of helps me. It's a nice tool to help me kind of express what I'm feeling. So yeah, I would say in that sense, it definitely has saved my life. I don't think I would want to be doing anything else. So yeah.
Yeah, brother. Again, we're glad to have you here, man. Always.
Very much so.
It's an honor to be your brother, man.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Honor, bro. What about you, Tim?
Man, that's a tough question. I can't really imagine my life without it. I mean, so I've played music since I was in third grade. So and then played the saxophone since I was in fourth. So I've been playing sax for 11 years now. And I've been like wanting to go into a career for it since the end of middle school, since 8th grade. And I mean, I feel like in the way of that feels like my purpose. My purpose is to help people grow, and I want to see my students grow and become incredible musicians, because that's a huge win. And I think that is absolutely my purpose, at least, you know, one of them.
Mhm.
And so I feel like if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't have the same drive that I do now.
Yeah.
And it's similar to Miles's story. When I was in high school, I was very close and attempted suicide, and it was my friends that I made through music and my future of music and things like that, and the potential that I know that I, you know, figured out that people saw in me and sometimes was told. And I mean, my family really helped me with music. They like the reason why I love music is because of my nana. She introduced me to BB King and the blues. And that's
Shout out to BB. Shout out to BB.
absolutely, that was my first like music love. Like, I mean, I absolutely love BB King. And I got to see him actually when I was like 13. It was probably like a year
Yeah.
before he died, and I'm so
Yeah.
blessed to have seen that. But yeah, I think that it's definitely saved my life because
Mhm.
without music, I wouldn't have met, or at least I wouldn't have been as good friends with you, Kendrick. I definitely wouldn't have been as good friends with Miles.
Yeah.
I mean, all of us really probably wouldn't be
Yeah.
together if that didn't happen. And
Yeah.
so it's absolutely something that I cannot live without, and something
Yeah.
that has, looking back on it more than once, kept me going,
Yeah.
and that is my life. So yeah.
Of
What
course.
about you,
Of
Kendrick?
course. Yeah, man. I mean, for me, that's why I wanted to ask you guys that question, because I knew you guys offer a different perspective on it, you know, considering, you know, what you guys went through in high school and,
Mhm.
you know, how being in a certain state at some point, man, like that, it requires you to, I feel like it requires you to grab onto something, you know, and you have to have something that'll pull you out. You know, like there's no way that you're going to come out of a state, whether it be depression, whether it be confusion, you know, without that source of inspiration. In my case, you know, I didn't really battle depression. You know, I think when I was younger, I battled just being ignorant on a lot of things and, you know, chasing white girls, you know, just, you know what I'm saying?
I love how
Just the
specific
stupid
that was.
stuff. Just the stupid
Man,
stuff,
you know, I
man.
didn't face depression, but man, I suffered from those white girls. I'll
I
tell you
was
what.
chasing.
I'll tell you what.
I was sitting there getting happy because I'm talking to these white girls. You know what I'm saying? It was dumb. It was a younger me. It was an immature me, you know. And I mean, when I came into high school, I thought I was going to be an athlete. I mean, anyone, you know, not many people know me that well that long ago, but I know freshman year I came in, I was trying to be on the football team. I was trying to do this. I got cut twice. You know, so when you get released from duty on 2 occasions in junior varsity football, it can mess with your self-esteem, you know. And
Sure.
music was the thing that I had. I played since I was 9. And when you get to high school, you get to that it crowd. For some reason, I guess when I first got in, and this is something I think we should also talk about. When I first got in, I thought, man, music, nah, man. I was like, I ain't trying to do that. I ain't trying to play in no band. You know, I wasn't trying to hear none of that. I didn't want to hear it, you know. And it took 2 years. It took 2 to 2.5 years for me to actually take music seriously. Like to sit down, you know, because I'm a music lover, but I didn't love playing. I didn't love being part of the band. I didn't enjoy that, you know. And when I turned around and I looked at the football guys, and no offense, I mean, I see where some of their brothers are now. I look at where I am, you know, and I know that, not saying that they're not doing the best that they can do, but I know that that's not where I want to be. Like that, where they are and what they do. If I was to be around them, that's what I would have done. And I know good and damn well, like right now, I would hate myself if that's what I was doing, you know. And I shout out to them, but it's just not my life. It's not what I wanted to do. And when I really dedicated myself to music and when I started doing it, over time, I just began to look around and say, wait a second, come senior year, a lot of the people that was musicians were pretty damn cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we were, and then after college too, like we shifted. I feel like our class specifically, but maybe just me, you, Miles, of course. I'm trying to think about who else was like in our class that we were graduating with. That was in the music. Patrick Smullen, right? Like Jackie, Rosa. You know, there were people in the music department that really made it look like these people are cool. These people are in IB. Like these people are known by people. So music wasn't this dorky, you know, suspender wearing. I did marching band, you know, senior year. Tim got me to do marching band, you know, and it was a heck of an experience. And I was able to take music, you know, and yeah, I wasn't battling depression. I wasn't battling anything, but it helped me find who I was. Because I think without that, I would have been trying to chase some, I don't even know, some fantasy of being a goddamn NFL player, which Lord knows I would never do in my life. I was relieved of my duty freshman year, bro. They cut me literally second cuts. I got tits. I'm sitting here in the weight room acting like I can live.
Discharged from the JV
I'm dishonored.
Yes.
I'm sorry. If you guys have ever been if you guys have ever been cut from a team, okay, especially at Old Mill, I think anyone who went to Old Mill will understand this. Like, you sit in the weight room, it's everybody who's trying out, and they call. And I got cut the first round of cuts my freshman year.
Damn.
First round of cuts, right? So I didn't even get to go do like stretches on the actual turf. I was on grass. I didn't leave grass. So Coach Grimm, he called 10 names out of like 80 kids. 10 names. And my name was the second. So they did it alphabetically, right? They called me up. I've been sweating. I've been trying to burn this fat. I've been sitting here. You know, I'm 13. I got a number 1 cut. I'm bald, right? And I thought they were going to give me some compliments. Like, yo.
I was gonna say, so they called out everyone who was cut?
They called out everyone who was cut.
You were bottom 10?
No, bro. I'm top 10 because they called me first. I'm the top 10.
Well,
everyone else was cut after me.
So you're
That's what I mean.
Your top 10 cuts.
Top 10 cuts. Exactly.
Okay.
And you're
sorry.
number 2.
Sorry.
So I was number 2. I'm top 3, but I'm not 2. Whatever Drake said, I was number 2. Okay. Called me up, went to the weight room. Coach Grimm gave me this like solemn look, you know, and he was just like, he looked at me and he was like, Kendrick, you know, and this conversation was huge, right? Because he kind of told me, he just said, you don't belong here. And I was like, someone could have taken that as like, F you, dude. I sat here and went to these workouts. I sweated my butt off. Like, I got underwear that I can't wear again. Like, I'm in a bad position, right?
Yeah.
Some people would have looked at him like, bro, F you, man.
The underwear. I gotta throw this away.
Hold up. For real, like some underwear gets so sweaty. It's just like, dog, I can't.
Of course. You just gotta.
Yeah. You gotta trash it. You know. So I gave you everything. F you, dude. Like F you. But the way he said it was what made me realize, like, damn, this dude he's on to something. He was like, you don't belong here. He's like, you're an honor student. You're gonna be in AP classes. Like you're gonna use your brain. You're gonna use something. Which to this day I do. So I'm glad that he sat there and told me, like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Like, don't come back. Now I did come back and try it the next year.
Yeah.
This was like, wait a minute.
Miles was like, wait, I thought you tried out sophomore year. I did. And sophomore year I had a better chance of making it. I just missed a lot of workouts. Okay. So I had a chance. I had a shot.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I was irresponsible. Dude, I could have made it. All right. I could have made it. But the moral of the story is music was my saving grace. It helped me find myself. I think it helped all of us find ourselves, you know. Yeah. And I don't know. I think the ability of music to do that is kind of not a lot of people. You have casual listeners, and it's okay to listen to music casually. But I think for the people that look at people that are obsessed with music or professional musicians, they look at them as like crazy because they're like, how could you? You know, and Miles, I think you should speak on this because you're the main one that's going to be performing. Like,
yeah,
what do you say to all those people that will look at you and say, man, how the hell could you choose to do that? Like, you're going to be broke. You know, there are people out there that say, like, you're not going to make any money. Like, what are you thinking? Like, what is your response to those people?
First of all, I have confidence in my own ability. That's one thing. I think that took a while to kind of set in because, you know, I'm not the type of person to be like, oh, yeah, you know, yeah, I'm the shit, you know, all that stuff. But like, also you have to, I think there's a difference between cockiness and confidence. I know that I am good at what I do. I know that this is what I'm meant to be doing. So I'm not going to let anybody tell me that I can't do it. Like as soon really what matters is what you think. I know that I'm
Mm.
going to meet my goals. Grammys were today. I know in 10 years that'll be me. I can say that with confidence. I'm putting that out there. Because
Mm.
one, first of all, you get out of life what you put into it. I'm putting that positive energy out there. I'm not even worried about it. I know it's done, right?
Yeah.
And then two, also, it's like even if I didn't want to, be like, super famous or whatever, win Grammys and all that stuff, I know that this is what I want to do. This is what makes me happy. This is my gift to share with the world. Um, you know, and just like anything else. I mean, everybody's, and funnily enough, Victor Wooten actually said this. Pretty pretty well known bassist in the music scene.
Mm-hmm.
He said this at some ceremony for some college. Um, he said that everybody is already special, just for being born. I mean, you had to think. I think he said, your fingerprint, if you look at your hands, has never been on this planet before, and it will never be here again in all of humanity's history. Your fingerprints have
Mm.
never shown up before. You have a unique fingerprint. And they will never be here again. Like, you know how
Mm.
crazy that is? So already based on that, you are special. Now it is your job, to then build on that.
Mm.
To
Yeah.
build on your and share that with the world. And I think for me, this is what I do. I know I have the mind for it, and it's what I love doing. So I'm not going to let anybody tell me, oh, you shouldn't do that, or money this, money that. I know what I have to do, and I'm working towards it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I know my ability, and I know how to improve on that ability. So I'm not going to
Mm.
let anybody tell me that, oh, well, there's no money in this, or there's no money in that. You know, we just dropped a project, Sunstrider, by the way, buy our album.
Yeah. Yeah. Go stream the Sunstrider EP. If you have not streamed, I repeat, the Sunstrider EP
That's
on Bandcamp.
SUNSTRIDER EP. That's it's like, looks like a sun, looks like a guy's like walking on it. My little sister, youngest, she actually did the logo. Very
Shout out to
talented
Nina.
artist. Shout out to her.
Yeah. Great
But yeah,
EP. Great EP.
EP. And like, I know that people are liking that. I mean, we've made a pretty decent amount of money.
People are loving it, man.
Yeah,
We ain't gonna shout the number out, y'all.
We're not gonna shout
Just
the
know
number.
we satisfied. We're
Yeah.
satisfied. We're satisfied.
Considering that we didn't really advertise for it or anything, and we haven't been able to gig because of the pandemic, I know what I got. Like, I know that I am a talented musician. I know that I'm around talented musicians, so the success will come.
And the funniest part about that, man, I feel like it's always the people that look down on musicians the most. It's so disrespectful. You are a psychology major who happened to get a BA, and you out here thinking that you're going to be Dr. Phil.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even understand how broke you're going to be. Do you not understand how many streams of income a musician can make? It's the misconceptions. I can teach lessons. Yep. I can gig. I can also maybe substitute teach in schools if I wanted to. I could become a teacher as a working musician if some schools will allow that. Some schools look for working musicians to be professors over any like educator. Like there are so many streams of income, and that's just a couple besides selling things online, selling merch if you're in a band,
doing sound design for anything.
Yep.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, mixing and mastering. If you know how to do that, a lot of musicians, of course, know how to mix and master,
especially
like Ricky.
In the digital age,
Yeah. Like, so it's the misconception that bothers me. It's the misconception about the working musician, and I'm gonna parlay into this. I'm gonna parlay real quick. It's the misconception about jazz.
You mean segue? Sorry, King of Seg.
I thought the segue. Hold on, I thought the segue was the thing that dude rode and died. He died on it. He died on the segue.
So that is also a segue. It's spelled a little differently.
Okay.
But a segue, yeah.
His fat ass like rolled off a cliff. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Segway. Rest in peace, Segway.
That's why you're not called King of Segways, Miles Malone. Now, Jesus.
He rode that Segway 3,000 feet.
Kendrick.
He did. How did you? Okay, we gonna go back to the topic, but
Get
damn,
on
the cliff.
jazz. Jazz, Kendrick.
Why was he on a cliff, y'all? Why
I
was he
don't.
on a cliff?
That actually is pretty stupid. Don't
No.
don't ride
Why
segways
was
on
he on a
cliffs.
cliff?
Yeah, don't do that.
Anyway, yes, the misconception about musicians and the misconception
It's just
the misconception about jazz. Now, Tim, I'm gonna let you take this one, brother, because I think your understanding of the music is bar none, man. It's like we always connect. What do you feel are some of the most common misconceptions about jazz, man? Like just in general for the people, because these people, I think we had a lot of people listening that don't even know jazz, they don't listen to it, right? And I don't want to have us go on some like big discussion about theory and because they're not even going to get what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah.
Some of them. But what are some of the common misconceptions about jazz as a music,
I think the
as a
biggest
type of music?
I think the biggest misconception about jazz is that it is one genre. Jazz is so a little bit of like the word jazz. The word jazz for a lot of people, a lot of like great musicians, great jazz musicians, of course. I think Miles Davis for sure is one of them. The word jazz is too confining because people see it as confining. They hear they hear jazz and they either think, okay, like the memes, right? So the first one is you have like free jazz where, I mean, it's certainly a valid form of musical communication, but it's very much like a specific thing, right? So people think smooth jazz, which is which also is valid, but it's more popular. So it's a popularized, and not just like popular, but it's put more of in the genre of pop music. So it's more like pop jazz. So they think of like Kenny G and things like that. And Kenny G, although he does play saxophone, I would not say is a jazz musician. I think
He's not a jazz musician.
No, I think he's a very talented saxophonist. I mean, his tone is great, and but the thing is though is that it's not usually what you would think of when you think of jazz, right?
That's your
At least
elevator
us
music.
as musicians, yeah, like elevator music.
Yeah,
that's the elevator music.
And then there's the third one, which is jazz is this like highly intellectual thing that nobody can understand, right? And only those who are jazz musicians can understand it, which a lot of musicians feel that way. Musicians who aren't jazz musicians feel like, oh, this is on a whole other level. We were talking with our friend Ricky about that. He was saying this, like, it's people think, oh my god, jazz is up here and I can't, it's unobtainable, but that's absolutely not true. Some of the things we do is like, okay, this is like, we do a little bit of contour, like this chord sounds bright and this chord sounds dark, and like there's a bunch of chords in between, so we're going to go brightest to darkest and we're going to do this, and it's a contour and it goes in waves, right? So we think that way sometimes. That's with modal jazz. And then but really it's like, okay, what is jazz, right? Jazz is hip hop. Jazz is R&B. Jazz is obviously like another thing that people think of jazz is the classic traditional stuff where it's bebop, so like bebop, hard bop, straight ahead, and then like even older traditional jazz, sometimes known as Dixieland, but that's that's kind of that name has the term isn't so good, so we trad jazz, traditional jazz, which is like Preservation Hall jazz band. So like New Orleans, when people think of New Orleans jazz, they think of that. They think of traditional jazz.
Right.
When the Saints Go Marching In. Like,
yeah, everybody knows When the Saints Go Marching In. Yeah.
And it absolutely is, and it's great and it's a fun time. And it is jazz. There's just a lot of different kinds of jazz. It's all those things. Jazz is pop music, even though I said like, oh, smooth jazz is more so pop. I mean, jazz is pop music also. And jazz
and that's funny.
Yeah.
What we should do, make a comparison for Taylor Swift in the jazz world.
Ooh, a Taylor Swift.
Like, who is the Taylor Swift of jazz?
Taylor Swift of jazz.
Who is the Taylor Swift of jazz?
I'm guessing you're saying in terms of like popularity, right?
Not only popularity, I mean, because I think, first of all, there's nobody I think that's as popular in music as Taylor Swift.
But I mean, relative
in
to
jazz. Relative to her, yeah, I guess you could include that. I think for me, it's like longevity because Taylor's been around,
yeah,
running it for what, 12, 13 years now, right? Like she's been on top for a long time now, and she's had a string of hits. She's had critical acclaim, but who do you think in the jazz world ran it like Taylor? Or maybe, you know what?
Or
Taylor's
maybe-
not good because Taylor hasn't been around long enough. Let me think. Let me say like
maybe a Beyonce.
longer.
Longer than
Who's
Beyonce.
transcended? Who's transcended every single, like the past 30 years? Like who has been there that still could drop an album today in the pop world? Could drop an album
They're all kind
today.
of dropping dead. So like it's hard to.
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, I don't know. Taylor Swift has she's definitely changed her style. Not a whole lot though, I feel like. So
I feel like it's evolved though.
Yeah, it's definitely evolved. I mean, I'm trying to think of this is
it's hard, man.
I mean, without comparing to T Swizzle, Miles Davis, I feel like is the most. I mean, Miles Davis is the most prominent, probably.
I think that's where people usually think about
throughout jazz. Yeah, if you kind of know jazz, then you're automatically going to think Miles Davis. I mean, Miles Davis, I think he was nominated for something around 80 Grammys or something like that in his life.
It's insane.
He was constantly evolving his sound and things like that. But I also think
from like 50s to the 80s. I mean, you
really no 50s. Try 50s to the 90s till his death.
Yeah,
till his death. Yeah, that's what I was.
Till his death. Yeah,
and he really did.
That's insane.
Yeah, so much so that I was named after him. Like that's his reach.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't know.
I compare it to Herbie Hancock.
If you want to compare to somebody
every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day, I'll look at that and I'll say Taylor Swift, who has a string of hits, who's been here, who's changed their sound and still sold. Herbie. Herbie was the one.
I think you're right, and Herbie actually has more of a. I feel like when Herbie came around, he really had a lot of the evolved sound, and he kind of took took more R&B into his playing, which I mean R&B is derivative from jazz. So
it's like Herbie Hancock, in my opinion, did to jazz what Outkast did to hip hop. Like if we're comparing how they changed it, like Outkast, if anybody on here, first of all, if you don't listen to Outkast, get some culture. Go check out Aquemini. Go check out their legendary albums. Okay. But when Outkast came to rap with Andre 3000 and Big Boy, it was something about that duo. And I think I just love Andre. It was something about Andre in particular that it was, you could still have that aggressive Southern trap, right? Because those guys were some of the originators of trap. It's not Future. It's not Lil Baby, as much as you guys love those guys. It's the Outkast. It's the UGKs. It's those guys. So they had the trap, but they still had the musical ability, and besides Tribe didn't have that. I love Tribe Called Quest, but they didn't have trap because they were from New York.
And also Tribe used a lot of sampling. And I mean, obviously amazing sampling from jazz. Same thing with the Far Side. Lots of jazz.
Far Side,
I think De La Soul, all those 90s hip hop groups for sure. Outkast.
We just talked about them. Diggable Planets.
Yeah,
Diggable Planets
for sure. I mean,
we just talked about them. Yeah. Yes.
But I mean, first of all, if you haven't listened to any of those names, you definitely look them up.
Definitely do. Yeah.
Go educate yourselves, brother.
Yeah. So, I mean, Outkast, I feel like a good amount of the time made their own kind of thing, and they definitely did use sampling. I mean, everybody does
here and there, though.
But they made a lot of original stuff. Yeah. I feel like I personally, I mean, I love Andre 3000's lyricism and the way he sings and raps. And Big Boy, I think, has awesome writing. I mean, I think his writing can hype you up like crazy. Like that's all of the when I listen to a lot of Speaker Box and Love Below.
Mm,
Like senior year of high school, junior and senior year, but senior year especially. And for the most part, because we'd be like going to a competition or something like that, and I'd be listening to the big boy stuff. I'd be listening to Speaker Box instead of Love Below. I've been listening to Unhappy. That's my favorite one. Last Call with Lil Jon in there. That one's a hype song for sure.
Anything with Lil Jon will get you going. Anything with Lil Jon will get you going.
I think that kind of stuff is super cool. And it's very, I mean, it's like percussive and powerful, and then you put Andre 3000's lyricism. It's like, you know, he like floats over everything. It's really cool. But I mean, even that without sampling jazz, I feel like, I mean, that is absolutely inspired by, you know.
Yeah.
That's what jazz is. Whenever you have a band that's together, you know, for those that haven't listened to like a Weather Report, you know, for anyone, because a lot of people won't know Weather Report. Weather
Report doesn't even get enough love in the jazz world,
which is disgusting.
Weather
because
they are also like the guys who popularized electric music too.
Before Herbie did it, which is why I think a lot of people, as much as I love Herbie, I think Herbie took it to another level. He did things that people hadn't done, which Herbie deserves all the credit for. It was Joe. It was Zabino who was on those keys playing those, you know.
I think he's my favorite electric piano player. I think he also played with I think he also played with Cannonball Adderley.
He played with Miles. He played with Miles too.
He's awesome.
I mean, that's just jazz, man. Everybody flows in and out. You know, it's like I'm trying to think about the easiest way to put it in terms. Like, jazz is just, if you were, imagine you and 10 friends having an amazing conversation, like just an amazing. I mean, you're talking about life. You're talking about love. You know, relationships. You know, grief. You know, but it's conversation that like feeds you. You know, like you get something from it. It's not just empty.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's jazz. Like when you're with a bunch of musicians, you guys are playing good music. You're having a conversation. You're having really good conversations. You're all getting something from it. I'm listening to something Tim's playing, and I'm getting something from it. Oh man, I got to pay child support. Tim's playing is gonna make me feel like I don't have to pay child support, right? Like it's gonna make me feel like I'm just this.
Pay your child support.
You should pay your child support.
Yeah. Pay your child support, y'all. Pay your child support, right?
No, I get you.
But I'm just saying. You know, I'm just saying that's what jazz is. It's not this, you know, textbook thing. You're having a really good conversation, and everybody's contributing. Everybody's saying something that makes sense. You know, and I feel like if more people understood that, you know, and just grasp that concept, then they could appreciate like, oh, that trumpet is responding to the drums.
Definitely.
And the drums are responding to the sax, and you know, it's
I think
a unit.
I think that's a great way of putting it, because it is a conversation, and music is always like a conversation, right? I mean, but jazz is this kind of thing where it's, I mean, we're all getting ready, and like we study the language, you know, which is why I say, like, you know, it seems like it's too intellectual for people, you know. And I'm not saying that as like, oh, I feel like, you know, like you have to be on this level of understanding, you know. Some people feel that way. And I mean, I think that's a problem within the jazz community. I'll talk about that later. But it's a conversation, and we're ready, and like we've been listening to the language, you know, and we're learning words, and then you play, and that's you saying it, When you say something intellectual, you know, someone will say, "Oh, okay, oh, I heard what you said. I didn't quite understand. I'm gonna say it back to you," and then they go, yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me tell you, but let me also tell you this, and then you do this, and that's soloing, and that's all of this, and it's even while you're playing comping, which is like, you know, like complementing the rhythm section is playing under a soloist, and reacting, and everyone's reacting to each other, and it's this huge conversation. I think the next time, really, if you just listen to jazz, or if you can look up on YouTube or something like that and look at a jazz band playing, I'm trying to think of like a really good chord against
Snarky Puppy.
Snarky Puppy. Watch a Snarky Puppy. Yeah, and that's new stuff. That's not.
Shout out to them. They just won a Grammy. They just won a Grammy today too. Like their fifth. They're on a tear.
Snarky Puppy is awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, they and that's modern, and that's new stuff, and it's amazing. And so they're doing this, and you can see them, and they're jamming, they're having a good time, and you can
Mhm.
see that there's a conversation happening between everybody, you know.
Right.
And that's really like what's about. And I mean, you can just listen to it, and then if you think, because sometimes people think of music as being like, this is background and then the person's voice, and that's what music is. It's a song, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
um and it doesn't have to be that. And if they think it's not that, they're like, oh, it doesn't really interest me. But I think if you listen to that, you hear that trumpet, that's their voice, you know. Listen to what they're saying, and then you start kind of understanding,
Mhm.
oh, okay. And then you hear them play something, you hear them say something, and then you hear the saxophone come in later playing what they played, like the last thing that they played, picking up on that.
Picking up on it,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
exact like that's I mean, that's such a good feeling. And that's also how I feel like when we all play together, especially like Kendrick. I think you and I have a way of, like, when we trade solos and things like that. I think
Mm.
out of everybody that I've played with, I think you and I have a very special, like, connection in that way, where, like, we'll play
Mhm.
something, and then I'll play an idea, or you'll play an idea, I'll go off of that, you'll go off of that, and then it just, like, escalates from this, and then we add ideas into it, and
We
it's
can mimic each other easily.
yeah,
That's special, man. You don't have that. I mean, also we played together since 8th grade. Like,
yeah,
you've been in a band with me since 8th grade. So that's just something that'll never break. Even if I don't touch my sax for 2-3 years, right? Like, once we start playing together again, like, I know we'll pick up on something.
yeah,
Like, even if you're technically ahead of me, I'll still be able to say, okay, I know he's gonna go with that. I know where I could take that. I
yeah,
know where I could
for
go.
sure.
And that's special, man. That's special. I mean, Miles, for you, like,
Hmm.
because we're speaking, and I feel like a lot of people listening, they may be like, oh, these guys are talking about these voices and stuff like that, but you're not a voice technically. You're technically not a
I'm
voice. You're
technically
technically, like,
background, like I'm supporting.
technically your
Which
background, but
is like, at the same time, though, I mean, you absolutely have a
I have a
voice.
voice. Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
huge voice. That's a huge voice. So, like, as a bass player, like,
Yes.
what do you feel people need to know about the bass? Because when you go listen to an
Yeah.
NBA young boy, you listen to a Kendrick Lamar,
Yeah.
there's bass, there's bass, there's
Bass.
bass. That's what people like. So what do you think people need to know about bass when it comes to jazz?
I think that a lot of people, one, when they look at the bass, especially in modern music, but especially if they look at a bass guitar, um,
Mhm.
see, so like a friend right here, she has 6 strings, right? But that's not normal. That's me being extra. That's me modeling myself after a one Thundercat, one Grammy-winning Thundercat. By the
Yeah.
way,
Grammy
congratulations!
Award winning Thundercat. Let's
It
get it.
is what it is.
Congratulations to you, Mr. Bruner. Once you eventually listen to this, because I know you will.
We'll
Um,
have you on. We'll have you on free of
Absolutely.
charge.
but so when they look at it, they're like, "Whoa, that's just a 4-string guitar. It must be easy." All that stuff, and then people kind of um diminish its importance because what a bass does is it carries the bottom note. As a bassist, I decide what chord is what's happening harmonically. Essentially, everything is in my hands, and it's one of those things that the way I thought about it when I was younger was like, it may not be as flashy, you may not notice it when I am playing, but you'll notice when I'm not playing because
Yeah.
everything else falls apart. Um,
You're also the rhythm too.
yeah, I am, the rhythm. I am the rhythm. Me personally. Um, but I think it's one of those things, especially in the jazz sense, it's always almost since its inception. Now, of course, or in the very early days of traditional jazz, a lot of the times it'd be a tuba playing bass lines or whatever, but the function is still the same. The bass
Mm.
has been there because it helps drive things. And jazz, and a lot of jazz, especially particularly in older styles of jazz, so less modern styles. So like, your bebop and everything
Mm.
before that, bassists do what's called walking. Um, and and unfortunately, I can't give an example of that at the moment. I'd have to switch mics and everything. It'd be a whole ordeal.
Mhm.
Um, maybe later. Um,
Yeah.
but basically, it's where the bassist, he plays the root notes of the chords, and he's moving in between those root notes of those chords. Normally it's pretty much on every beat. So like say going 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. So like when you hear like ba-doom doom doo ba-doo doo 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 ba-doo doo 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 ba-doo doo doo, that's like a walking bass.
Can't you kind of think of it as like twerking?
What?
Twerking.
Like on the beat. Think about it.
What?
High school dance.
I would think.
High school dance. Think about the pace. Boom.
Well,
boom,
if anything,
boom.
twerking is double time.
Yeah.
Well, wait a second. Double time. Who's doing the twerking?
Oh,
I
gee.
don't know.
What are we talking? Double time is like that's like
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom,
Okay.
boom.
Never mind.
If it's like average, if it's average pace, I'm thinking because I'm thinking back to high school. If it's average pace,
What?
boom, boom, boom,
I would say.
boom,
I would say
boom.
no.
That is I don't know, Kendrick.
I get
Why
you
is that with
trying
me?
to
I think
make a.
I see what you're trying to say,
Yeah,
but
that in my head, I was like that. I think that's similar.
I don't know how many people are twerking to jazz though. So
Oh no,
Um,
nobody.
Well,
Nobody.
yeah.
you never
Kenny
know.
G got me up.
Oh,
Kenny G got me hot. She got to shake the back.
Oh no.
anyways, before I was so
This guitar got me going.
oh jeez, before I was so rudely interrupted.
Skinny face. Skinny
Um,
waist, pretty face with a big back. Doom, 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 doom.
And anywho, but yeah, that's walking, not what Kendrick said.
I would say it's similar to walking.
Yes, like actually walking.
Yeah, dude.
Jeez.
Why did I just say walking? Oh,
Who knows?
All right,
But
Kendrick,
hey, that's
you made
that's a nice clip.
your comparison, and that's
This is going on the
all that
page. I hope you know that. This clip
that's
is.
what's going on the page.
oh, you're gonna edit it. You're gonna edit it and put this on the page. You're a butthole, man.
I'll edit it. Trust me.
You'll edit
It'll,
it
it'll be
and
up.
put it on the page.
It'll be up in 20 minutes. Well, the episode won't even be done.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, that's kind of like how bass is perceived. I think when people think of jazz, they think, oh, he's walking or whatever. I think as time has progressed, bassists have been able to become more creative with their bass lines.
Yeah.
A lot of funk musicians. You think of funk bass lines. Most of those guys were jazz musicians. Especially in the early days, transitioning out of jazz, because that came out of jazz. R&B, that's all rooted in jazz and bass playing and everything. If you listen to anybody like Robert Glasper, you listen to his bassist play and everything. For the most part, we're not walking bass lines anymore.
Right.
Now, of course, as I am in school for jazz, right, I have to do that a lot. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I'd rather just not. But it's one of those things. The function is always the same, though. I'm holding the bottom end of everything, and I'm making sure that everything sounds. It's my job to make sure everyone else sounds nice. So when I'm playing under a soloist, it's my job to make sure that they sound nice, to make sure that what they're doing has context. That's what it does. It gives context to what's happening on top of it. Yeah. Because without context, it can be perceived as just noise. That's why I won Old Mill's 2018 Jazz MVP award.
Yeah.
I'll have you know. I did, Kendrick. I know you're looking funny. I did. It was at the award ceremony.
Do you want a cookie?
Yes.
Do you want a cookie?
Please. I'll be over in 20 minutes. Trust me.
That was a shared. That should have been a shared award. That should have been a shared
award.
3 MVPs. We had 3 MVPs in the band. That should have been a shared award.
The ones who are running this
all
podcast.
3 of us. The ones who are running this podcast, and you know that.
But I have the plaque. Do I not? Who has the plaque? Who has the plaque?
Okay.
Yeah.
Kendrick's hurt. You can feel
Leave
it.
that joint. Leave it out in the rain and see what happens.
No, it's my plaque because I take care of it. So you wouldn't take care of it.
You're leaving it in the rain.
Leave that joint on the range.
You don't deserve it like I do.
Oh no.
Oh wow.
You won't take
Yeah,
care
you're
of
talking
it.
to the you're talking to the 2017 Rookie of the Year. Okay,
Oh,
we're flying.
okay. Rookie of the year. What for JV football? Huh? Not for JV football.
This Rookie of the Year made first chair all county.
Okay, I'm not saying that you didn't. That's true. You did make first show.
Not a lick with not a lick of theory.
Not a lick of theory.
Not a lick. I had white kids behind me that took 7 years of jazz lessons. Respect me.
Say my name.
When was the last time you touched your horn, Kendrick?
A year ago, and I made good
Yeah.
money off of a project.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Respect me. It's all good, bro. Because when we get back in the lab, you're gonna see. You're gonna see.
Yeah, I'll see.
Don't
Anywho,
practicing, everybody.
yeah, make sure to practice. Otherwise, you'll wind up, being on a podcast.
What?
It was a shot at me too. Don't worry.
It was a shot at all of us.
Yeah,
Because we all could be practicing right now.
I could be practicing.
Jesus.
Sorry, Tom, if you're listening. I swear I'm practicing. Do not worry. Everything will be fine.
Tom is his bass instructor for everybody.
Yes,
that's
Tom
listening.
Baldwin. Fantastic. Just just insane.
Yeah.
Anywho, so that's the point. Bass. It's nice. And it's not just memes. We don't just slap bass. I can do that too.
The jazz music doesn't just stop.
Yeah.
I think my favorite. I was listening to it earlier today. Probably one of my favorite. I can't say my favorite. First of all, like any Thundercat.
Oh yeah, of course.
Anything is
yeah.
amazing.
Did I not mention
But-
Thundercat?
You did.
I did.
Yeah.
He's listening right now. It's all good.
Yes. Thanks, Steven.
Yeah.
So what? First name basis.
Yes.
Bassist. All right. So
Ooh.
what?
Yeah.
King of Puns. Dad Tim Edwards.
Oh.
I'm not a dad.
Well,
What I think is better not be.
Oh no.
Take care of
Tim
my
gonna come on.
instruments.
Tim gonna come on the next podcast with red eyes.
Oh no.
Oh, we
Kendrick's
broke.
broken.
Kendrick broke himself.
He broke us again. All right, I'm gonna continue then.
Yeah. Continue.
I think my favorite example of bass being like a voice in and of itself is Earth, Wind, and Fire. All in all, Beijo interlude.
Yeah.
Beijo. So good. Yeah, and then the bass comes in. It goes like. Yeah, it's so good, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's
Verdine White.
amazing.
Shout out to you, Verdine. I know you're.
Shout out to Birdie. That brother looked
Absolutely.
25 and he's like 73.
Does he
That is
look 25?
insane. Physically, like
Oh,
not
that's-
take the face out of it. Take the face out of it. His body, like he's built
That's
like he's
fair. Yeah,
25.
that's true. He is
Yeah,
actually.
that's
Yeah.
his
Don't please don't beat me up, Verdine.
Nah.
Or do. Maybe
It's
that'd be
all
kind of cool.
Maybe
Everyone too
you'll
busy getting his
maybe you'll maybe you'll get better by osmosis.
Yeah.
He punches you and you like become like even more talented.
Oh,
Like,
thanks.
okay.
I caught that.
Yeah.
I'm
I didn't
talented.
mean that because you are talented and you're very skilled.
I bestow onto you my base powers.
Honestly, I'd chance it.
I'd get punched in the face by Elon Musk to get rich. He
Perhaps.
just comes up. My child is named.
Oh.
Wasn't it pronounced like Adam or something?
I think
Isn't
that's
it- he tried to say it's Adam, but it's like asterisk sigma beta M.
Yeah.
It's something stupid, and it's Adam.
I feel
Anyway,
bad for
back
him.
to what we were talking about. Forget
X12.
So something else I talking about talented versus skilled also. A lot of people, especially now musicians, will say, oh, you're so talented, you know, blah blah blah. You can do like I can't believe you can like play all this, and I wish I could. And that's really cool. And first of all, you totally can. You know,
Right.
you know, if you think you can't play the piano, but I mean, if you, it's about patience, really. If you sit there and like you have to figure it out, and it takes a lot of
Of
work.
course.
Um, and for anybody that plays music or listens to music for fun, I mean, as long as you're still doing it, that's great, you know.
Yeah.
But you
Right.
know, they'll say like you're so talented and I can't believe this and all these things like that. And I mean, I'm not offended by it, but at this point in my life, it's like it's not really talent anymore, you know. I mean, I could pick
Right.
things up quickly. And Miles, I know you're a similar way. You know, like we could pick things up quickly. You know, it's like I can learn something new, and I'd say that's talent. But I mean, what we do now is skill, and it's something that we've worked for, that we're working hard at, that we're still working for. It's honing a
Mm,
craft, and that's being skilled.
Mm.
So like when I talk to other musicians, I try not to say like, you know, hey man, like look, you're really talented and things like that. Like I'm not going to say that to someone who is like in even like a senior in high school. Like I'd say like
mm,
if it's in your like if they picked up the horn for the first time and they sound like like they're doing pretty well, or if like they've only been playing for a couple years and they're doing really well, I'll say yeah, that's talent for sure. But like
right.
if you want to be skilled, that's a whole other thing. Because
Mm,
I think people have a misconception about music and musicians in general, in that you have to be born with it. And
No.
right.
Yeah.
there is a certain kind of thing that I feel like we might be born with, you know, or maybe it's fostered in us or something like that.
Mm,
Um, but it's really a lot of hard work, and
Yeah.
maybe it's more work for some people than it is for others, because there are people that like no matter what they do, it's like they can't pick something up. But I don't know, I feel like maybe that might be like a teacher thing, you
I mean,
know.
if you put enough
mm,
work into anything, you'll get better at. I mean, I don't think it depends on the
yeah.
person. Like everybody's different. I know for me, like I didn't really start playing bass seriously until I was 15, which is
Yeah.
super late, especially for someone who's going to school for music. But I mean, I hear myself play now, and I'm like, all right, I'm
Doesn't sound
holding,
like it.
yeah, I'm holding my own against. I mean, I'm about to go out and be a professional. Well, I technically am. I've released music and I've made money
You've
for it.
already released music. Get professional. Yeah.
So
Once you
like,
release music.
like I'm holding my own against against bassists that have been doing it since they were, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. Um,
Yeah. You're holding
you
your
know,
own against 40-something-year-old bassists,
so like
50-year-old bassists.
and I mean I know that a lot of that came from one, hard work.
Mm,
There might have been some sort of natural affinity to it, maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
mm,
However, if you don't actually work towards that, if I didn't go to school for it and just like was like, oh yeah, I kept it as like my hobby, I would definitely be nowhere near where I am now. And a lot of that comes from just hard work. Um, making sure that I'm practicing and everything,
right.
and like just putting my mind to it. Because
Hmm.
when I came into college, it was kind of like, I think in high school, for me, it was kind of like, all right, I was one of two bassists, and the other bassist was an underclassman, so I was
Hmm.
I was just first chair by default.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
Now you could argue, whatever you want about that in terms of skill level, but it was easy to be like, all right, cool, big fish, little pond. And then when you get to school, I went to college. That like first week, it was like,
Mm,
well, the pond just got a whole lot bigger, and I just got a whole lot smaller.
right.
Um, and because I had never been formally taught by like a bassist, um, like how to play bass before I got to college. My first actual bass lesson, taking one was in my freshman year of college, which is
Same here.
3 years
First
ago
semester.
now. Yeah. So I mean, on that note, in that sense, I guess you could say that yeah, there was a fair bit of natural talent there, you
Mhm.
know, that I guess I was able to hone through just playing up to that point to be able to get into a music program, you know.
Right. And that's the
Um,
thing, like about that. That's why I think that principle is pretty universal when it comes to hard
yeah,
work beat talent. Like one famous reference I always look at is Mike Tyson. Like
yeah,
nobody knows Mike Tyson used to get beaten up. Mike Tyson used to get he was thrown to the wolves in Brooklyn and like was get beaten to a pulp. Mike is not, So this guy went out and did like 800 push-ups, 800 sit-ups, 800 squats, 800. I mean, he was on a gladiator workout for years and trained himself to be a machine. So he had no talent. He had no physical gifts. He wasn't some abnormally ripped guy, but you look at Mike in like 95,
I mean, hell,
that's what he
you look
was.
at him now, even.
Yeah.
You look at him now, man. I mean, you do 800 squats for 5 straight years. You're never gonna lose that. I don't care how many burgers you eat. He lost it a little bit when he was like on coke, which is coke,
Happen.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I think almost anybody's gonna lose that if you're using a drug that heavy. But he's back, like, and he's 54, and he just fought. So, the hard work will always beat the talent. Like, no matter how gifted you are,
Absolutely. Yeah, you need, and that's
it'll
the thing.
always beat it.
I think a lot of the times the problem is that people get told that they're talented and then they don't put any work in, and
Yeah.
then they get surpassed by people who put the work in.
Yeah. Definitely. It's about drive for sure.
Yeah.
Because you can have talent, you can be skilled, but if you're not always looking to improve yourself, then you will never get
Yeah.
anywhere. And that goes for everything. That goes for all lessons in life. Is that you have
Yeah.
to always be learning, and strive to learn. And like I think another thing too that people have to realize in terms of music, I think anything creative really, is that people is like there's a curve, like it goes in waves. It's like a roller coaster that only goes up, but it has some dips, and that's
Yeah.
because I think like I've been playing for a long time, but I think that like in relative to like where we were, Miles easily surpassed me once like freshman year hit, in college. Like once he got thrown into like the super group, and Miles had to say, all right, I gotta hang, I gotta match,
Yeah.
No,
like
he
let's do it. And he did. And I think that at that point I was like, I mean, I wasn't like, oh man, I need to do that too. But I was thinking, I was in my own thing where I was thinking, you know what? I'm definitely not as good as like I could be, despite playing all these years. Like I have a good foundation and I have a pretty good idea of what I want. So now let's add in a bunch of other things, and then add like my teacher, Matt Belzer, amazing saxophonist, amazing teacher, all this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And not just saxophones, but woodwind player. But I mean, he like opened my eyes to all of this, like what I can do, and what I will do, because I know I will, and I'm working for it. And I think just the progress that I have made, and now it's like there's really no comparison, because we're all on this kind of thing, and I think we're all growing together at this point too, because we're playing so much together. But in the past, I mean, even in the past couple of years, I'd say even in the past year, I think my playing has gone like skyrocketed. Like I have started to like play just so much better. It's because I'm playing more and I want to play more and I want to practice and all these things like that.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of like drive. And because that's why I want to be a teacher, because I always want to learn and I always want to be like educated. And so I want to pass that on to others, to my kids, and to my students. So,
and I think in history, like the only situation where I feel like, and I don't want to say there wasn't hard work in that, because I think he was definitely working on his craft as time went on, but it wasn't necessarily like structured. The only example I can think of where it was pure talent that succeeded was Basquiat. Like Basquiat as an artist, Jean-Michel Basquiat as an artist. I mean, typical artists, you look at the Van Gogh, you look at those guys who had training and had, years of all of this experience. Basquiat was homeless. This was a homeless man. He was a homeless teenager, a homeless 20-year-old living in New York, like lost on, all types of things. His paintings are now selling for 50 million, like $60 million paintings, right? People will die for a Basquiat, right? Like, to have that, and have been homeless, that's the only time I can say that, like, wow, like pure talent. Yeah, that that kind of shown, that shine through. But other than that, that's an outlier. Like John Coltrane, he used to practice in a room in the basement with a gallon of water for 8 hours
Yep.
every single day and night, and like Miles Davis, as lax as he is, and as free spirited as he is, the guy was putting in work. The guy went to Juilliard. He dropped out of Juilliard because he wanted to go play with Parker, and all of these guys out there. So I feel like the hard work always beats the talent in every field. And it's just, I don't know. It always astounds me to hear people talk about like, and I guess this is a parlay, man, but a segue. I'm sorry, Miles, for the parlay word. I'm sorry, but that's what makes me. And we gonna have this discussion. Oh damn, I'm gonna go there. That's what makes me so mad about a lot of these pop artists today. And listen, the people that do have those hits, the people that do make millions of dollars off these records, shout out to you. I'm happy. Keep your pockets full. But there are people that are making millions of dollars that don't have a goddamn lick of talent. A lick of talent. A lick of talent, a lick of hard work. Nothing. There's an image. You see an image of an artist, right? And you're like, she can be something. He can be something. We're going to manufacture something. And we're going to make it happen. Which is so many big artists have just been manufactured. Look, we're paid for top of the line dancing. We'll pay for top of the line studio equipment. We'll write your lyrics. We'll tell you what song to sing, and then we'll add auto-tune on top of it. So you just in the studio, just sitting there. Just, oh yeah, no, okay, that's cool. Boom, take one, and you don't have to work. That's where I'm like, ugh. Because it's like, how do y'all feel about that? Because I'm not sitting here saying like jazz artists deserve millions. I'm not saying I know it's not a mainstream, genre of music, but it's just when there's a lack of talent and a lack of hard work and you still succeed.
That's when
I'm just kind of like, how the hell is that possible?
The whole thing of it starts to feel a little bit unfair to those who have like honed their craft and everything. I think,
right?
Yeah, I think that's part of the whole thing about video killed the radio star, right? So much is about image, a lot, and if sometimes you just have to find somebody that fits an image, they don't necessarily have to be as talented as some people, or be as good of a songwriter as some people. And I mean, you see that, and because we're in the digital age where you can throw autotune on somebody and it can sound really good, we're at a point where you can throw autotune on people and you can't even tell it's auto-tuned.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's like if you can get like,
or only a musician can tell.
Yeah, it's like if you can get relatively close to the note that it's supposed to be, we got you from there. And sometimes people like the autotune sound, and that's also part of it. So I mean, in any popular genre, because I think you see it a lot in pop music, you see it a lot in the rap and hip hop scene, where you have these people and you're like, man, like that's like a lot of beat hype rap. I don't understand one thing anybody just said.
What we talking about? What type of rap is this?
Just any type of beat hype, like where it's like, man, the beat go hard.
The beat go hard.
And fair play. Sometimes even I'll listen like, man, I don't understand what's happening, but beat. And then it's like, so then you also look at that, like that producer's a talented person.
Panda, probably. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's like an example of one.
Designer.
Yeah.
Designer. And it's so funny how that was
like you can't help but be like, okay,
right.
And then he's like, Bono, like it is a rose on a lemon. And you're like, dude, what?
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's also like it doesn't really mean that much, It's just like, I thought these words were cool, and then like it doesn't.
It's even funnier when you find out that it's a Kanye song.
Yeah.
And he gave it to Designer. And Designer was like, he was in an interview. He was like, man, I didn't get paid right for that song. Yeah, because it was Kanye's song.
Yeah.
It was his song. It was on The Life of Pablo.
Kanye
it was on
hasn't
a Kanye
been making
album.
Sense. for
Yeah.
for
But
a
I
few
mean,
years.
so you look at like all that stuff, and it's like, man, the producer was super talented. Who's that producer? And some of these producers do get their shine. And some of them
Not
would probably,
enough.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
enough.
definitely not enough. Some of them would
Yeah.
prefer to probably be that kind of famous, where it's like I won't get recognized on the street, but I'm still living good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And making sense.
but I mean, I even look at some of the musicians that are even just around us now, you know,
Mm.
and I'm like, how are you? How is like I'm like, how is X famous person, you know, famous for music when they're not actually, like
Good
there's yeah, I
at
don't
anything.
like if they enjoy what they do, like cool. Um, but like if it's a situation where it's like, oh, my parents had a lot of money so they could put me in studios, that kind of leaves a sore taste in your mouth when it's like, well, I just met 10 musicians on the street. I've seen homeless people on the street that are better musicians,
Oh,
better,
absolutely. Yeah.
more
Than you.
talented than people that I hear on the radio.
Yeah. An example to me, is the Sweetie girl. Tim, I don't know if you know her. The Sweetie, it's like Saweetie, and she's with the guy from the Migos.
Kendrick, do
Like, let
not get
me.
us canceled. Do not get us
I'm not gonna
canceled.
get us canceled, bro. I'm not gonna get us canceled. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not gonna get her canceled. And listen, respect to Sweetie. I think like her music is not terrible. I'm not saying her music's terrible, right? Like I'm not saying that. God, I'm trying to
Don't
Google. I want to
don't.
show Tim.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Don't play any of it because we also don't have the money to
No.
pay for copyrights
First
stuff.
of
Yeah.
all, why would I play? I'm not. No. No. This is her. Can
Yeah.
you
Okay.
focus?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
with Quavo.
Yeah, you've seen her. Everyone's seen her at some point, right? Listen, shout out to the girl, right? But this is a description of her career from the time of obscurity to the time of now. She's like one of the biggest rappers and best rappers to a lot of people in the game right now, right? 2 years ago, nobody was talking about this girl. A year ago, no one was talking about this girl. She starts dating one of the biggest rappers on the planet. Now she's in rooms. Now she's getting this. And it's like, listen, I'd understand if she had like a catalog and no one, and like she was just slept on, and then she dated Quavo and she got the opportunity. Great. You had your music out. She had literally almost nothing.
Mhm.
Nothing. And there are people like Rhapsody. And I'm talking women. I'm just talking women rappers, right? You're talking Rhapsody. You're
Yeah.
talking who's the girl down south? The girl down south who had the good tiny desk. Really good tiny desk.
You're talking Chica.
Sheikah,
Mm.
Yeah.
No
she's very
Name.
No name.
No Name. There are so many women that are, and that's why I will say, shout out to Cardi B. Shout out to Cardi
That's
B.
true.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't care what
Definitely.
anybody says about that woman. I don't care what anyone, and I'm not even a huge fan of her music, but she has always gone to bat for the underdog.
Yeah.
Every chance she gets to
Yeah.
make a post, Cardi B with a following of 80
Today.
million,
Yeah.
shouting out Robert Glasper, shouting out Thundercat,
That's true.
shouting out Kate Renata, shouting out these artists. And that's what I think matters.
Mhm.
That's what I think matters. I think those are the artists, in my opinion, where it's like, listen, Billie Eilish. I mad respect for Billie Eilish because at the end of the day, she didn't ride nobody's coattails. She didn't, she came up and she had a meteoric, like she
Yeah.
went from Miles and I talk about this a lot. Like she went from 930 Club in September of one year to Capital One Arena in September the next. Like
Yeah.
it was that. Her tickets went from 25 to 180.
Yeah.
That's
In a
the
year.
great. That's the great thing about like the digital age, right?
Yeah.
You can blow up.
With
You can
TikTok
just
and everything. What's her name? Olivia.
TikTok.
Olivia. What's her last name? Rodrigo or something. I'm
Olivia
blanking on her
Rodrigo, who's
name.
that?
She
Had a
wrote
TikTok star or something?
driver's license, and it was really
Oh.
popular on TikTok.
Yeah.
So now she's
Mm.
like exploding, and like good for
Yeah.
her. Like, and I think that's that's the wonderful thing about the digital age is like all it takes is one viral video. It's like, man, what's that
Mhm.
song?
Or
Yeah.
like used in a meme, and then boom,
Yeah.
your people actually look you up.
Oh yeah, look at Lil Nas. Look at Lil Nas X with the
Yeah.
Uptown Road, or
Yeah.
Old Town Road or whatever. Like that alone. First of
Yeah.
all, that song got radio play for like 8 months,
Yeah.
8 months to
Yeah.
a year. It got
Yeah,
radio
no, it
play,
was
Seriously.
really long.
and it was on SoundCloud. It was a SoundCloud song, and in that case, the brother owns his masters because that was a song produced by him, I think, or by his partners or whatever. They own their masters. So The record labels came to him, signed him off the hype of that. He dropped an album, he parlayed it into sponsorships. You know what I'm saying? Like there are people that do it. But what I don't like is the fact that you can just come on, latch on to somebody who's famous, have zero talent, have zero hard work, and then all of a sudden, overnight, you're this darling, and now you're getting sales, whatever, and then gonna go online and say, I did it. Other people need to do it. Y'all need to boss up.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do it?
Well, I mean,
Did you do it?
There are a few people that are like that who have gotten famous. People that come to mind, the Kardashians.
Sam. Oh, well, hey, Kylie flipped that bag.
No,
Kylie's on another level.
That's
Kylie's
true.
A Jenner.
I will give her that.
Okay?
That's true. But also you also have to think, would she have had that same opportunity if Kim didn't do what she did? You know what I'm saying?
Never.
So
she wouldn't even talk about.
So you look at those things and like when it's like, oh yeah, self-made billionaire. It's like, yeah, technically, but you also wouldn't have had these opportunities. Like if everything was the same except for my sister's not Kim Kardashian and she doesn't, have a video out that we're not going to mention.
No, but I
you see what I'm saying? Because she's on a reality TV show, right? So people
has
know
the platform.
She has the platform to start. I can't do that. Nobody's, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's definitely not the same thing.
I think you get an initial. I think you get an initial following just because of that, because of camp, and then people start saying, "Oh, okay, no, wait, no, this is actually pretty cool."
Mind you, I'm not saying that she doesn't deserve every bit of it. Absolutely,
like she does.
Good for
but
you.
It's not.
Don't call it. Don't say it's self-made because you didn't. That's not how that worked.
I agree with you. Yeah, because you had that platform. Like Mark Cuban is a self-made billionaire. Mark Cuban is self-made. He had no handouts. He had no TV show. Like he had no Warren Buffett, self-made, right? Like Bill Gates, self-made. That's self-made. They had no platform. Granted, then you get into the discussion of the Bezos and the stuff like that. We could probably talk about that in the future of like, they exploit their employees, right? We'll get there. We'll get there. That's not today. But for the musicians and for the people like that, the Kylie Jenners, it's like, you're right. The self-made, I did it myself. I did it with no help. I did it with no cosign. You can't utter your lips to say that. There aren't many people that can utter their lips to say that, because at the end of the day, you had a privilege. You had that moment. You had that opportunity, And another reason I think the image is so big, and this is disgusting to me, especially in hip hop, like in rap, it's a problem, is in pop as well with Black people, is just the search for the light skin, the search for that. Because we talk about so many artists that are, not self-made and don't have that. But like, there's so many artists that are great, way better than these people, but it's just because they don't look right. Mm-hmm. It's just because they don't fit that image. One example for me, Jennifer Hudson.
Yeah.
Jennifer Hudson is one of the best vocalists on this planet.
Yeah.
This planet. And she was able to eke out a couple hits. When she first came out, she had Dream Girl. She had two really big hits, like 2 big hits when she first came out. 2007, right? Like she was huge. And slowly but surely, you saw less and less videos.
Yeah.
Less and less live performances. She was at the BET Awards like 7 times.
Yeah, man. I forgot about Jennifer Hudson. Like,
you see what I'm saying?
She's amazing.
Oh my God. Jennifer Hudson is one of the best vocalists I've ever heard in my life.
Man.
But you get into the discussion of, but if Beyonce's up there. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to think about other artists that were really big. And Aaliyah in her prime was up there and was on the face of magazines and platinum albums.
I think Aaliyah's thing was that she was so talented for how young she was, though. You also had to.
Jennifer was young as balls. Jennifer was 21.
Yeah, but Aaliyah was 21. Aaliyah was like, she was like in her teens.
She was like 18. She was 18, but still,
it's no.
Aaliyah had passed at 21. So we're talking like, even if you just want to like take that year and a half or 2 years that she had in that run, she was 20 and 21. So Hudson had everything. You could have made her a dancer. You could have given her big budget videos, but the record executives didn't want to, solely in my opinion, because of the image that she didn't fit. She was overweight. She's dark skinned. She's not, her teeth aren't 100% straight. And I think only women really go through that. I think they go through it more than men. I think men do feel it.
Music industry, but definitely not as much. the image whole thing.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, you have like people like I'm trying to think like people that are great musicians, right? But maybe don't have this image. You know, you think of Jay-Z, that he is not the best looker, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's not to take away from his music, but he's not the
No,
best.
he's not the best looker. Let's
He's
be
not the best
honest.
looker. And if you
Yeah.
had that equivalent in a woman, that wouldn't fly to record execs, and that's not.
They would not be known.
I mean,
I mean,
it's
that's definitely a problem
yeah,
that we have across the board in media.
yeah, definitely. That's across the board, just
Yeah.
full
Right.
stop.
Not even
I mean,
just media in life.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Right.
like, I mean, just now you're starting to see maybe a bit of a shift, like where you have like people like people that maybe aren't as bigger people like Lizzo or Chica, like we were talking about earlier, who they're starting to kind of get into that.
Get that shine.
But like people have been been big people since there's been people like who are talented, more talented than like maybe smaller people.
Yeah.
And that is it's especially a shame that it's split up gender wise like that, and that there is such an obvious disparity
Discrepancy.
there.
Yeah. It's huge. It's gigantic. The
Yeah.
difference between how men are treated in the industry and women are treated, and the difference in ability, I guess, for a good woman musician to be able to climb the ranks.
Yeah.
It's almost, especially black women. It's especially like with them. It's like it's because you have white women that are like maybe they're not as known in the pop world, but
Yeah.
they will still go out and sell 500,000. Like your bad pop artist who might be Caucasian will go out and go gold. They'll have a gold single. They'll have this. They'll do the MTV Awards instead of the Grammys.
Yeah.
Right? Like they'll do a little show. Your black musicians, especially women that aren't big, aren't doing anything. You don't see their names. Like Thundercat won a Grammy today.
Yeah.
No one talked about it.
He's been
K
playing
Tronada
since
won
Thundercat's been playing
2 Grammys today.
professionally.
No one talked about it
since he was a teenager, and he's in his mid-30s now. So like, there's K Tronada also. I mean,
so it's happening to black men.
Yeah.
The black women get nothing.
Yeah.
You know, like they get nothing. And
unless
I
you're
feel like that's just terrible.
And that's
like a Beyonce.
Yeah, Beyonce, Rihanna, they'll drop something and they'll get like whatever.
I just looked up Jennifer Hudson to see if she put out anything recently. Well, first of all, I totally forgot that she was in Cats, which is unfortunate.
Ooh, I remember
that. Idris Elba was in it too.
I know. T Swift was too. There were like big names in there.
Yeah.
But it's just a shame that it was on Cats. Some people like Cats, but a lot of people don't. I'm also not like an Andrew Lloyd Webber guy.
Anybody with taste didn't like
Cats. I'm not an Idris Elba musical fan.
Yeah.
That's
he'd be good as James Bond though. But
he'd be an excellent James. But that's another when we have that movie podcast.
Whole other, But yeah, so I looked it up, and she's been doing like movie stuff. So she did that. She also did some stuff for the RBG soundtrack. So it seems like she's been doing some movie work. But she just came out with a single this year, 2021. She did a cover of "Ain't No Mountain High Enough."
That's because she's gonna do the movie.
Yeah, I mean,
she's doing a movie.
That's right. You're right.
So I guess it is still movies. She's doing a lot of movies. First of all, man, I mean, I was just like listening to it a little bit. Sounds great. It's pretty cool. I mean, she sounds great. I mean, it's a little like, like 2000s, like ain't no man, no. Like I'm like, okay, that's but it's still, I mean, she sounds amazing still. So it's like crazy that I the last time I heard about Jennifer Hudson was when I think she was the one who sang Memories, which is the best and only good Cat song in my opinion.
Here's the other thing about that when we're talking about specifically about Jennifer Hudson, just to kind of illustrate. Jennifer Hudson is like traditionally very attractive, actually.
Yeah. I mean, in the sense of an artist, of course.
She's an artist, like she's like she is darker skinned, which plays against her, unfortunately, because of colorism, which is a whole another side of this argument too.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, even for someone like you could definitely push that image, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
but the fact that it's not being as pushed, I mean, that's even more damning when you look at these other artists who maybe might not be conventionally attractive.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. Right.
you know, and I think we've kind of lost. I think that's part of the reason why people talk about, oh, the music's not as good these days, and that's part of the reason because a lot of these talents don't get their shine unless like they're pushing past everybody. It's kind of like what Kendrick and our parents would always tell us. You got to work twice as hard. You got to be
Yeah.
twice as smart to get half as
Yeah.
much.
Half as
Mm.
much, bro.
Um,
Yeah. Just to
and
get an ounce of
yeah,
respect, an ounce of recognition. Like it's
you know, so
Yeah.
it's. I mean, it plays into everything. I mean, you also talk about like how people are pushed into genres because of how they look. You know,
Mm.
mm.
that's like what's her name, Normani. She was in what was that group with?
Oh, that was terrible. Yeah,
Yeah,
X Factor. Oh
was
man,
like was
with
like Fifth Harmony or something.
Camila Cabello, Fifth
Yeah,
Harmony,
Mm.
Fifth
yeah,
Harmony. Yeah, that was
and like
so bad
one,
what happened
she
to
was
her.
racially abused by Camila Cabello. Fuck Camila Cabello.
Yeah,
All my
why do
homies
y'all
hate
listen to her?
Camila Cabello.
She's an open racist,
Like
and
she
now
was,
she comes back and tries to denounce
yeah,
it, and then you guys are still streaming her music. I
yeah.
mean,
All my
this
homies hate Camila
society.
Cabello.
All my homies hate Camila Cabello. However you say her name, she sucks. God, I hate Camila.
Um,
Anyway,
but like she's a pop artist. Normani's a pop artist, but people were
yep,
trying to push her into R&B and everything because she's a dark skinned black girl. I'm like, that's not what she wants to do. You
yep.
talk about image, like like this is what rap is, or like what how
Jesus.
you look at country music for example. How many black artists in country music? There are a few. There are like one or two that
Look,
I can think
Leon
of.
Bridges, and I don't even think he counts as country.
Yeah, really, I don't
No,
even
I
think that.
no.
Gary
Leon
Clark
Bridges
is
is
the
not.
country.
I
Like
mean,
so,
I think that's a real pure form of country music in which it's closer to
yeah,
like
Mm.
closer to
Oh,
blues
we're
than it
talking
is.
country,
yeah,
country. We're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
no,
country.
yeah.
So
This
I
is
mean,
pop
Darius
country.
Rucker.
It's
Darius
like it's
Rucker.
more like
yeah,
pop
I'm
country.
talking like mainstream country, like so like Darius Rucker. So there's not that many, right? Um,
Mm.
but then you look at stuff like, and it's an interesting thing that I've noticed. You talk about blue-eyed soul, which is really it's a slang term in the music industry, just to describe
Mm.
soul that is performed by white people.
Mm.
Um,
Right.
which is really just like, hey, we're stealing it.
Yeah.
It's gone. Yeah.
Because funnily enough, I saw a video where this guy, he's an amazing, great singer, great vocalist. I'm not taking anything away from his talent, right? Um,
Mm.
where he was doing a cover of her Focus. Um,
Okay.
and like like all the comments, people were the caption of the tweet was like like you know they're imitating us, which yeah, I mean
Mm.
like he was singing like like a black person. That's not to say that white people can't have soul. That's not what I'm saying. You
They
absolutely can
can.
have a soulful voice. Um,
Yeah.
you know, but you also need to recognize, I think that that's what happens with music. Not to say we should gatekeep our music, especially
Yeah.
in the black community.
Yeah.
Because I think it's something that we can share
Yeah.
while still being like, you need to recognize who suffered to bring this music to the front.
I think that's the most important
Yeah.
part
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
There needs to be a certain
And don't take
recognition.
it from us.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Don't take it from us.
And
Like
say
Don't
that it's yours.
don't then call it
and say-
yours. Yeah, I think you need
Because
to
rock and
recognize.
Yeah.
roll,
Yeah.
like rock and roll, is often accredited as being a very white thing, in which it's not.
Mm.
I mean, even if you look
Mm.
at the origins of country music, it's
Yeah.
rooted. I mean,
It's not
That's
white.
true.
let's
Yeah.
for the musical historians out there, most American music that has originated in these United States has had black people have a hand in it.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. That I'm
That's
not.
why I named the episode "This Is Our Music."
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. But so that's
This
not to
is
say,
our music.
yeah, that's not to say like you can't play it or whatever, or have you just you need to recognize
Just
that
acknowledge it. Just acknowledge.
Yeah.
that's just what it is. This is not me trying to make a political statement.
Yeah.
That's just the fact of the matter,
Yeah,
right?
and I think doing that, and what I also feel like should happen is that we need to teach this in schools.
Yeah.
And to make that like a thing, like curriculum,
Mhm.
not like,
Yeah.
oh, it's February, it's time to
Yeah.
learn about the roots of all of our music,
Yeah.
and then you forget because you're like,
It's
oh yeah, rock, that's like
yeah.
it's like a lot of white rock bands,
Yeah. And
Mhm.
like, and I credit to people where they take that further. Like some of the subgenres are like, yeah, cool, you did that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you still need to understand where this all comes from.
Yeah.
Right.
I think even then that makes everybody better musicians and
Yeah.
provides better experience,
Exactly.
a better
Yeah.
musical experience for everyone around you.
That's like
Like
a
Miles
crazy,
said, it provides
yeah.
context.
Yeah.
It's context.
Yeah.
It's a
That's all
crazy
it
thing when I
is.
see like racist musicians or like musicians who are like, like, oh, look, let's play. And it's like, how are you playing?
Like, man, you
a
can't play music without.
yeah. It's like you wouldn't be playing that music without a black person. So like let's
There is
actually
no
sit
Chris
here.
Stapleton without Muddy Waters.
Really?
Yeah.
There really isn't. There really is not. Your favorite artist, Willie Nelson, yeah, he would not exist without a Muddy Waters, without a BB, without a lot of these guys. He would not be who he is. That's just a fact.
Now, fortunately, a lot of these musicians, especially those that are kind of in more traditionally what we could consider in the modern sense black.
Mhm.
Huge air quotes here for those who aren't watching on YouTube. These black genres, quote unquote. A lot of them do recognize that. I will give credit to that. I've seen a lot of those artists that are kind of like recognize like, hey, I'm a guest here.
Yes, right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying absolutely go do it. If that's what you like doing, go do it.
Right.
Like, yes, like we need more people to enjoy this music. Music is to be shared.
Right.
However, the moment that you get caught on video calling, or someone, all types of racial slurs and everything, that's when it's like, time to get out. Like, time to leave. Get out of my house. Because those two things should not coexist.
Or when Justin Timberlake does what he did to Janet Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then try to walk it off, and then talk about her in a way as a black woman.
Yeah.
Who's made it to this level of prestige. You talk about her like that.
Yeah.
I lost respect for Justin, and I was a Justin fan. That's what killed me. I was a Justin fan until I went back and watched the interviews after the Super Bowl and saw how he approached it.
Yeah.
Before his apology, before everything, and saw how that brother approached it. He talked about Janet like she was, and you just can't do that in the public eye, bro. You cannot do that. Similar to what Will Smith did to Janet Hubert on Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
And this isn't music, but just real quick, like she was, first of all, whoever's watched Fresh Prince, we're talking about the first Aunt Vivian. We're talking about the first mother, the dark skin and proud, dark skin Aunt Viv, right? And notice how she literally had a quick exit from the show. It wasn't, like if she had her last season and she was gone.
Yeah.
Overnight.
And then all of a sudden, like,
a lot of that
skin lady? That's Aunt Viv.
Who's this light skin? Yeah. Exactly. You're telling me that's Aunt Viv, and you're in a position right now where it's like Will Smith, who thank God he just acknowledged that he did it, was the main reason for her being kicked off the show. And it's sad, but I like Will Smith, but dude, what is an apology 30 years later? Like, you know how much money I lost? You know, my livelihood was affected by that.
Yeah.
So it's the same way in the music industry. I think it's the same exact way. Like we're already devalued. So when we release a project or when you step into a genre that's ours, and you could be more successful. Like Macklemore when he won the Grammy for Best Rap Album, which he never deserved. Let's just get that straight. Macklemore never deserved.
What has Macklemore been doing?
Nothing. He's been releasing stuff. Him and Ryan Lewis are no longer together. He does like solo stuff. But you just knew it was a fluke. You just knew it. You were like, you had Kendrick, who has released masterpiece mixtapes and then a masterpiece debut album, and you have Macklemore, who has released crap, and then two really big songs on one album that was pretty, like, his album was decent. I listened to it. Wings was okay, right? It was okay, right? So, like, he had a decent album, but he won the Best Rap Album over Kendrick, and then stepped into the space and tried to play this, like, pity game oh, Kendrick, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I beat you. I really wish I really wish you would have won. It's like,
It's like, give it to him then.
Yeah.
first of all, give it to him, or shut up and stand
Yeah.
tall and say, look, I won. I'm proud of my work. Like, but don't play pity to
Yeah.
the brother's music, because you're stepping into the space and you're disrespecting it like massively.
Mm.
And it happened on the world stage at the Grammys
Yeah.
for the world to see. And that to me was just like, it happens so regularly at this point. It happens so regularly at this point.
Yeah.
I think something that I really like about jazz is that at least in most times, this didn't always happen, but
Right.
I would say from like, swing era on, um, I think there's a lot of love for the black community because first of all, jazz is what that came out of, or
Mhm.
came out of that. And I mean, there were definitely some white jazz musicians who were racist, which is
Yeah.
also like, how can you, how,
Yeah.
But I think especially now, and like I said, I talk about jazz, and it's really like a lot of all-encompassing genre.
Yeah.
Of course.
I think there's a lot more love and recognition there,
Yeah.
at least from what I see. And something that is sort of connected is that we were talking about women earlier. For a long time, jazz was, and actually music teaching, I feel like, is a similar way in that it's not as like female friendly.
Mm.
The environment, I mean,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
for some reason, jazz has like uh, there's a like macho attitude towards it sometimes. I think it's that
Mhm.
thing of where it's like, oh, I'm more intellectual, and so like it kind of comes with some sexism too, because it's a
Massive.
very similar kind of idea and bag. Um, but it just wasn't like super female friendly. I mean, there were definitely a lot of strong females in jazz. Like, I mean, you think about especially singers. You think about Sarah Vaughan,
Mm.
Ella Fitzgerald, Nina Simone.
But they were vocalists.
They were vocalists, and then
That's
but
the
then you
other
have
thing.
like
Like,
Lil
Lil
Hardin,
Harden, Lil
Armstrong.
Armstrong.
Yeah, Lil Armstrong,
mm,
who was Louis Armstrong's wife for a time.
mm,
Amazing composer.
Yeah.
And then who do we just learn about in jazz history?
What was her name?
Mary Lou Williams.
Yes.
Mary Lou Williams.
Um,
Yes.
Amazing pianist. In fact, she
Mhm.
didn't play enough. I feel like she didn't solo enough. She's
Yeah.
amazing. And I feel like now we've started to take a turn, which is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maria,
Esperanza Spalding.
Maria
Esperanza
Esperanza Spalding, Maria
Yeah.
Schneider big band just won a Grammy
Yeah.
for a large
Yeah.
ensemble.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah, Maria Schneider is awesome.
Yeah. She's amazing.
And Carla Bley, Toshiko Akiyoshi.
Yep.
There's another Japanese pianist who she has like her whole thing, like she puts her hair like all the way out here.
Yes.
She's really cool. I forgot her name.
So,
She's amazing too. There are so many, and it's funny, they almost all play piano. Grace Kelly, who is a saxophonist and singer.
Grace Kelly. Yeah.
I love her. She's amazing.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely becoming that way. And I feel like music teaching, to kind of turn a little bit, to talk about my my thing, music teaching also I feel like is very like male heavy, which is interesting because
Mhm.
teaching is very female heavy.
Mhm.
I think about most of my like gen ed or like core classes. Most
Right.
of those teachers were
Women.
female. Yeah, were women. But all of my band, well, okay, excluding like college, and
Yeah.
like vocal stuff, all of my
Right.
band teachers have been guys.
Yeah.
Mm. I had one woman. I had a woman in 6th grade. Miss Hughes was amazing.
I
Yeah.
did
In
too.
6th grade.
But
Yeah.
but then you kind of
It's
look
majority
at
men.
like, yeah, and like
Majority
you look
men.
at like, you go to a marching band competition or whatever, and you see all the band directors chilling.
Yep.
Mostly guys, and maybe
Yeah.
that's the area we live in. I don't know, but it seems like for the most part it's pretty male heavy and not as female heavy.
Yeah.
And I think that it's kind of across the board with music, honestly. And it's just interesting to me that it's like that. I think because music is an industry as well,
Mm,
and also has strong roots, like in sexism from like Western European times and all this stuff. Like it's maybe that's why, I don't know. But I mean, if you're a girl and you love music and you love playing, and
right.
you could play the sax like nobody's business. Leah, who
Yeah.
Oh, Leah
graduated
Prescott.
oh my
Yeah,
god, amazing
yeah.
saxophonist, and even
Leah's
more
amazing.
amazing. Like, I mean, she's a like an educator, and
Yeah,
she's doing like 50 million things at once all the time. I don't know
yeah.
how she stays standing.
Leah's a beast.
She's like a role model. And yeah, I just think like, man, I really, singing is one thing though. I feel like singing is more female heavy. Like you go into musicals, right? I love
Mhm.
musicals. And you go into theater and they more often than not need guys,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Um
Which I
which
hate,
I
man.
just
It's like
yeah,
they belong on so much more than just the stage. Stop
Yeah.
absolutely.
pigeonholing. You
Yeah.
pigeonhole women into singing. You pigeonhole them into the stage. It's like women can play an instrument. Women can play drums. Like we need more women on
Yeah,
percussion. We need
Producing.
more on bass. We need
for
more
sure.
producing.
Yeah.
We need more conductors.
Yeah.
And jazz band directors to be women. Like this just doesn't happen
Yeah.
enough.
I definitely think that they need more recognition. Because I think there are many, but I
Yeah.
feel like the ones that we recognize are not, just not enough. Um
Yeah, and if there are many, I haven't seen them. That's the sad part. Like
exactly.
if there are many, I really
Yeah,
have not
that's
seen them.
that's what I mean. Like I'm trying to think,
Yeah, the
and
recognition.
like the jazz musicians that I talked about, and that, like, really it's kind of tough trying to come up with like instrumentalists that aren't
Oh
like,
yeah,
there's a lot of violin players or like violists, like string players
Like
who
in
are women.
like traditional orchestras. Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
But I don't know, it's a lot harder now to think of like, especially in jazz, like think like, oh man, like this this is like a hell of a trombone player.
Doesn't
And
happen
you
much.
know,
That
so
sucks, dude.
yeah, I just think that's an interesting thing, and I mean, I wonder if people discourage, or people feel discouraged, or women feel discouraged when they're trying to learn an instrument or things like that, and
Hmm.
um you shouldn't be.
I mean, I
And
think
Yeah.
that's,
I think part of it is society. I
yeah,
mean, I think
Mm,
always men are encouraged to go out and do what they want to do, and
yeah,
oftentimes women are not encouraged to do that.
yeah,
Um, so I mean, you see stuff like that. You see that kind of discrepancy in even our music program at UMBC.
hmm,
I mean,
yeah.
it's a relatively small program. I mean, it's like 100, 120 students, something like that.
something like that. Yeah, really small.
It's probably bigger now
Right.
since, but we haven't been able to meet all the new
Yeah,
people because of COVID and everything. But like of that 120, maybe about 100, I want to say like a good like 101, 100 to 105 of them are guys, and then the rest are
yeah,
women.
yeah. It's kind of
Small,
ridiculous.
So like,
small number.
and that's like it's like not good. Um,
No.
Yeah,
just like you look, and that's, and like you try to see how is that reflected of,
Mm,
across the entire industry.
mm,
And it does not bode well when we talk about
right.
that, because there are women who are just as good as men, even better,
Better. Better.
you know,
Yeah.
absolutely.
who definitely deserve these spots. But I think oftentimes they're not told. They're told, not to do that. Oh, you need to be able to do this. This is more stable or whatever. They're not. I think this is a general thing. Problem with society is that oftentimes they're barred by whatever powers that be,
Yeah,
Right.
to go out and actually do what they want to do.
Mm,
yeah. I
Which
I
I
also
mean,
see that in leadership as well.
yeah,
I think that's another reason why there aren't as many female teachers, actually, because I think people see,
female music teachers.
music teachers, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Because I mean, it's very much like, even more so of a leadership position in which you're saying, all right, guys, this is what we have to do. We have to get this together, you know,
Yeah.
and we got to do this, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
But I mean, there's only
and
so much that there's something else we should know. There's only so much
yeah,
that we can say. Um,
that's true. I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so
we're all men.
or so I think this is definitely a conversation that we can have. But I think it would behoove us to put a pin in it for right now and wait until
I
we can
think
have
you're right.
somebody on who can
We need to
see
have
more.
somebody
That
on.
is a very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. And honestly, brothers, I think that's a perfect place to wrap. I think that's a perfect place to wrap. And I feel like we need to work to try to get next week. I think we should have a woman on here. I think we should try to see who we can reach out to and talk about not necessarily maybe in the music industry, but just talk about, everyday life as a woman and the things that they go through that we don't.
Yeah.
So that we can put it out there and say, like, listen, because there are a lot of things I think that they will give us insight to that I don't even know.
Yeah.
Right. Because I like to say, oh, I understand. No, I don't.
There's
And I know
only
that
so much.
there's only so much I can grasp as a man, right? From my
Yeah.
girlfriend and from the people around me. So I think that's key, man. I think we got to try to have
definitely
have
got
more
someone-
women on here.
Yeah, I definitely got
You have someone in mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See if we can
Yeah.
get them.
We'll talk.
We can talk about
We gonna talk. We're gonna talk in the group
Yeah.
chat after this. But
Yeah.
anyway, man, again, always a pleasure talking to y'all, brothers, man. My brothers, episode 3
Absolutely.
of the podcast, done in the wraps. And everybody that's listening, man, thank you. Please share, like, tell a friend, tell a mom, tell a dad. Turn Down Podcast, man, is where we no holds bar. We talk about any and everything. I really think I'm glad that's what we went into this having that as an idea, and we stuck to it.
Yep.
And we're not swaying from it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, episode 4 gonna be coming at you guys next week. And if Tim and Miles and I put our heads together, we're gonna be having a special guest.
We don't know who it is though. Yeah,
No.
at this moment.
Yeah,
But we'll find them.
We'll figure it out.
we'll get him. We have no idea who, but y'all be safe, please, during COVID. Wear your mask, do what you got to do. And thank you guys for tuning in, man. It's been an honor talking with y'all brothers, man. And
For
I'm
sure.
excited for next week.
Always.
Love you guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Love you too, man. Episode 4 to Turn Down next week. We out. Peace.